There were days where I barely had sleep, but I had to work more than competition. I can't live like the opposition, living everything I dreamed of, doing everything you think of. The way I work, I'm on the brink of doing numbers like a brink truck.
If there was ever a food on Mount Rushmore, it would be this one: lasagna. If you don't agree, it's because you've been making it wrong. Every ingredient matters. Every layer has a job, and when it's built right, lasagna hits deeper than just flavor. It feels like home. In this video, I'm pulling back the layers and digging deep into the depth of flavor. First, you will learn how to make a homemade cheese sauce. Next, a spicy beef and pork tomato sauce. And by the end of this video, you will have a better understanding of how to construct this dish so that you aren't just left with a soggy, sloppy mess. Let's jump into it. We're starting with the bechamel, a classic French mother sauce. You might be used to ricotta doing the heavy lifting here, but this bechamel gives you something ricotta can't: structure. It melts through the layers and creates that creamy, custard-like bite. I start by steeping an onion and some garlic in warm milk. Do this low and slow so that the milk doesn't burn. This isn't just for flavor, it's to build depth without adding more bulk to the sauce. While that infuses, I'm making a roux. Start by browning some butter. You'll know it's done once it starts to smell nutty. Then equal parts flour. Cook just long enough to knock out the raw flour taste and bring a little more nuttiness. A little roux goes a long way, and a quarter cup of flour and butter each is plenty for this lasagna. Slowly, whisk in the milk until it's smooth and coats the back of the spoon. This is the texture you're looking for. Next, season with salt. Now here's where people either lean in or tune out. Nutmeg. It's not just for cookies. A tiny pinch cuts through the richness of the butter and milk and gives the bechamel a slightly warm and almost savory taste. You don't taste nutmeg, but when you add it, you can almost feel the sauce. Now strain the sauce. And off the heat, we're going to finish with a blend of mozzarella and Colby Jack. Just enough to add body and pull, but not so much it turns it into a queso dip. Now let's talk about the meat sauce, the soul of the lasagna. And we're not just tossing ground beef into a jar of marinara. We're building layers of flavor, just like the lasagna itself. I'm starting with a mix of ground beef and spicy pork sausage. Each one brings something to the party. The beef gives body, and the sausage adds fat and heat. Once the meat's cooked, strain it out and pour the fat back into the pan. This is where the next layer starts. Classic mirepoix. Onion, small diced, followed by carrot and celery, also both small diced. Season early, salt helps pull out the moisture and deepen the flavor. When the veg is soft, in goes the garlic. Just a quick saute, no burning. Then oregano, basil, and a pinch of thyme. We're not over seasoning here. We're starting the layering process. Tomato paste gets added and cooked out. Don't skip this. It caramelizes the sugars and punches up the umami. At this point, deglaze the pan with some red wine to get all the fond off the bottom. Now the liquids: fire roasted tomatoes and tomato sauce to round it out. Let it simmer gently, just enough to pull everything together. Bring the meat back in, stir and taste. Adjust salt. Balance is the key. You want a sauce that's rich and meaty, but not so oily it drowns the lasagna. This isn't just a topping. This sauce anchors the whole dish. It needs to hold its own against the cheese, the pasta, and the bechamel. Trust me, this one does. Next, get the noodles ready. Add salt and some boiling water and par cook the pasta. Next up, ricotta. Not everyone uses it. Some people skip it entirely, and others load it in like drywall spackle. Those that skip it don't know how to use it correctly, and it all comes down to one secret: an underutilized ingredient: the egg. And that's not just tradition. The egg helps bind the ricotta so it doesn't ooze out and turn your lasagna into a slip and slide. It sets up in the oven and gives the ricotta a custard-like texture instead of that familiar grainy mush that is so commonly found in lasagna. Then I'm adding freshly grated parmesan. It also tightens the mixture and gives the ricotta more body. You're not looking for a fluffy mousse here, just a smooth, scoopable texture that spreads clean and holds its shape in the bake. This isn't filler, it's contrast between the bechamel and the meat sauce. Now you've got 3 distinct textures working together. That's what separates a lasagna that eats flat from one that feels layered and balanced. Alright, we've got our components: bechamel, meat sauce, ricotta mix, shredded cheese, and pasta sheets. Now it's time to build. First, let's grease the pan. Start with a layer of bechamel at the bottom of the pan. This prevents the pasta from sticking and gives you a soft, saucy base to build from. Next, a layer of pasta. Whether you're using boiled or no boil sheets, lay them flat with no major gaps. Overlapping slightly is fine. Just keep it even. Now comes a layer of meat sauce. Then a layer of bechamel. Spread each evenly to the edges. Dollop on the ricotta mix. Don't overload it. A few generous spoonfuls across the surface, then gently spread. Then a handful of shredded mozzarella and Colby Jack. Just enough to melt and fuse the layers, not drown in grease. The second layer is a little different. Pasta, bechamel, ricotta, and cheese. We're omitting the meat sauce. Why? Because not every bite of lasagna needs to hit you over the head with meat. The second layer gives your palate a break. It resets the flavor so when the meat sauce comes back on the top layer, it lands harder. The top layer should finish with pasta, a final spread of bechamel and meat sauce, more ricotta, and a generous layer of shredded cheese. This time we're adding parmesan to give us a nice color when finished in the oven. Cover with foil and bake at 375 for 40 minutes. Then uncover and cook for another 20 to 30 minutes until the top is bubbling and golden brown. And this is important, let it rest, at least 20 minutes. If you cut too early, all those beautiful layers will slide apart like a bad first date. We need to give it some time to firm up, so do your best to practice your discipline here. And there you have it. This isn't just lasagna. This is layers of intention, from the nutmeg and the bechamel to the spice in the meat sauce to the creamy, structured ricotta. Every part plays a role. And when you build it right, you don't just get dinner. You get comfort, nostalgia, and flavor that actually sticks with you. For a final pro tip, restaurants typically stack 2 slices to get a more visual, appealing slice. If you learned something today, hit that like button. And if you want more food built from the ground up with purpose, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.